Hey everyone, it's Lindsay Ray here, coming to you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be talking about breakups. I'm going to be going through a little bit of a story time about my own personal experience with breakups, and then I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks to get through your breakup. However, this video is also for those of you who've suffered any type of loss, as I believe loss is a crucial part of life. It's something that grows us and changes us and helps us to be better people, but it's also very painful at the same time. So what can you expect in this video? Well, I am going to be talking about a relationship that I was in. But before we kind of get started, I want to just make this clear that this video is not meant to be a source of gossip or slander about the person who I was in a relationship with. If they ever come across this video, I don't want them to feel hurt or called out. So I'm going to be speaking very generally about the relationship that I was in. This video actually is more going to talk about the whole breakup process, like what happened after and my own heart response. It's to help those who are suffering the loss of a romantic relationship or any type of relationship, because you can have friendship breakups. You can have family breakups. And so I want to be a source of healing and a source of hope that God sees you, He knows you, He cares for you, and just a few things that I did to make this time period in my life easier. So first I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story of how it all happened for me. I had been trying to look for a relationship for many years. Tried the apps, tried being set up by people, and when neither of those methods worked, I felt really pessimistic about my potential to be in a romantic relationship. But nonetheless, I lived my life. I went to young adult groups, and it was in one of these young adult groups that I met the guy who I used to be in a relationship with. We started out as friends. We had lots of mutual friends. We had lots of interests that were similar, so it was really fun getting to know this guy. He was very interested in talking to me, and we had a really fun friendship for maybe about 9 months. After that, we progressed into what I would like to call a situationship. So for those of you who do not know, a situationship is where you give someone special attention, you are acting romantic towards a person, you are flirting with the person, you're texting them all the time, but there is no official label to the relationship. And that is what I had. I had a 3-month situationship, and it was mutual on both ends. You know, we were kind of just flirting with each other, texting each other. You know, he was kind of going out of his way to do things for me. And at that point, I kind of realized that he might like me. And that's what ended up happening. He ended up asking me out eventually, and we started a relationship. Now, the relationship was very, very positive. It came quickly. We became official very quickly, specifically after about 1 or 2 dates. And it was really just a very pleasant time in my life, I should say. It was fun. He was such a gentleman. Like, just from the outside looking in, everything looked great. And I loved the feeling of having some special attention, kind words of affection. It was everything a new couple should be. So how did it all end? You may be wondering, how did it all end, Lindsay? What the heck, you know? Well, actually that part was deeply spiritual. The minute that I got into a relationship with this man, I did not feel peace. And at first I thought it was because I'd never been in a relationship before. I thought maybe it was just anxiety about like going out and finally having a guy who was very interested in me. But soon it became apparent that that was not the case, that I just did not feel a sense of peace. And I started praying about it, because whenever I don't feel a sense of peace about something, the Lord is trying to get my attention. I really did like being in a relationship with this man. So I was praying, and this is a very dangerous prayer, but if you want the Lord to answer your prayers about people, He has no problem taking people out of your life, okay? I prayed this prayer and I said, Lord, if this relationship is not your will, then I pray that you would give me the power, or that you would end this relationship. Because within myself, I told myself, I do not have the power to end this relationship. I just don't. And that's exactly what happened. The Lord ended that relationship. And that's all I'm going to say about that. A guy that I was dating ended up breaking up with me, and that was the end of the relationship. It was not meant to last. And so little Miss Lindsay Ray was very, very heartbroken for many, many months. But the Lord has since healed me from that feeling of being brokenhearted. And so today I want to offer three tips for you if you are going through a breakup, and 3 things that you should remember that God taught me during this period of time. And I hope it can provide help and healing for you as you look towards the future with hope. So tip number 1 that I have for you, for anyone going through a breakup, is that there is going to be a grieving process, okay? During the first 2 or 3 months of my breakup, I had unstable emotions. Sometimes I felt really sad. I was really sad about the way that things ended. I had lots of questions of what if we are meant to be together? You know, like what if this was a bad move? And then there were other moments where I was very angry. I was angry for all kinds of different reasons. My emotions fluctuated. Sometimes I would be okay, but then I would see something that reminded me of the man that I dated, and that would make me really, really sad. And it could just be like little things like shared interests. And I just want to let you know that that's okay, okay? Like, we are human beings. The Lord gave us emotions for a reason. One thing I do want to encourage you is that it's okay to grieve. It's okay to be mad. It's okay if you don't even know what you're feeling. But the temptation during this time is to ruminate over the good times. I know I found myself like ruminating over like previous dates or previous outings, or even when we weren't even like in a relationship, we were just like friends. And I found myself ruminating over and over and over again. And a little bit of that's okay. But I want to encourage you to think about the relationship in a realistic aspect. You know, I would think about, oh, but this was so good, that was so good. But then you come back to the reality. You and that person are no longer in a relationship. So to think only about the good times, there's a temptation to only think about the good times. But it's okay to be completely honest and think about the bad times too. It is painful, but it is part of the healing process. And that brings me to another part of the grieving process. And that is, you're going to want to go no contact, okay? You are going to want to set boundaries. And one of those boundaries with your ex is that you are not going to contact them for a month to 2 months, okay? They need space to recover from the breakup, and you do as well, okay? So going no contact is best. And additionally, you need to, just be prepared for the fact that it's going to take a while. There is no set time period. If you were in a relationship for months, it might take you 6 months to recover. I know from my personal experience, I was in a relationship for a week and a situationship for 3 months. So for me, it took around maybe 4 to 5 months before I really started to feel like I'm over this person. I don't think about them. I don't really have these fond memories of dates. I've kind of blocked it out of my mind. You definitely want to set boundaries because, like it or not, you were close to this person and now you are reeling because they're no longer close to you. And I get it. I feel it. It's really tough. Another thing that really helped me in my grieving process, and this is just me in particular, is really investing myself into a project. Personally, I got my temporary contract to be a teacher in 5th grade during this time, and I was forced to pour myself into that classroom. I just went all in. I did, and the Lord used that. Like, it may not sound super spiritual, but the Lord used that timing of me getting my own classroom for 4.5 months to help me in grieving my ex. Yeah. So be sure to find something that you can invest in that's meaningful to you. Maybe it's a ministry, maybe it's your friendships, maybe it's a job, maybe it's school, but focus in on something so that you're not tempted to ruminate. And that is what the first 1 to 2 months of your breakup will likely look like. Then you get to what I would call stage 2. And that is the stage where you are over your ex and you start to reflect about what it is you could have done better, what it is maybe they could have done better. You know, your ex, the person you broke up with, is human. Of course, they are not perfect, you know, and you start to think towards the future relationships that you might have. For me, this happened about 5 to 6 months after the man that I was dating and I broke up. So the second tip I have for you going through a breakup is see that this is an opportunity for relational growth, okay? Even if it doesn't feel like it, it is an opportunity for relational growth. One thing that you will notice clearly after a breakup is the traits that the person you were dating had that were awesome, and then the traits that were flawed. You know, we're not looking for somebody to complete us. We're looking for somebody to be a good complement. As we all know that we are complete in Jesus. Amen, right? We are complete in Jesus. We do not need somebody, but we do often desire somebody to date and somebody to love us. And this is an opportunity to evaluate what it is that you really liked about that relationship and what you're looking for in a future relationship, because that is growth, but also see maybe the orange to red flags, maybe the things that slightly bugged you, or maybe it was a character trait that that person had. See that as well. Also, be prepared to forgive. Something I didn't really touch on, but I'm going to touch on it now. And that is that the Lord calls us to forgive if anyone sins against us, okay? And I'm not saying that might be the case with you and the person you broke up with. Naturally, if a relationship ends, and I've had this with friendship breakups, I've had this with, you know, things that didn't turn out well, it can be easy to harbor resentment. And so forgiving is definitely something that is more healing in the end, because you let go of any resentment that you have and you end up forgiving that person, and it frees you up. Another thing that I really grew in relationally is my view of myself. So when I was a girlfriend, I really found identity in that. The person I was dating, he made the relationship official on a Saturday night. So I remember the Sunday after going to church and holding my head up high, and the thoughts that were swirling through my mind were, I am a girlfriend. I am somebody's girlfriend. I'm so excited about that. And it's okay to be excited about that. If you're in a relationship, naturally you're going to be excited about that. But for me, it became an identity. Like everywhere I went, I thought, okay, last time I was single, now I'm a girlfriend. Last time I was single, now I'm a girlfriend. Instead of viewing it from a realistic lens, which is, I'm a girlfriend, which is cool, but I am a daughter of the King of Kings. Like my identity as a child of God or a daughter of Christ should have been the highest identity in my life. But I quickly realized that once I was out of that relationship, that the whole mental view of being a girlfriend or being somebody's significant other was really driving a lot of my identity. It was driving the way that I viewed myself. And being single again was very, very difficult for me. But it was also so healing and refreshing, because I realized that one of the things that was wrong about the relationship that I was in had nothing to do with the person I was dating. It had to do with my own view of myself. How I held myself to such a high standard that the only way that I saw myself as valuable or worthy or like extra special is if I was in a relationship, and that couldn't have been further from the truth. Because the truth is that God has loved me with an everlasting love, and that he always will love me. And that is the highest love that anyone can experience. So I want to encourage you, if you're going through a breakup, it's not part of your identity, okay? It's something that happened and you can move on. Speaking of healing that comes from the Lord, I wanted to give you a third and final tip about breakups, and that is to look at the eternal perspective. After a breakup, it can feel like your identity has been changed. It can feel like you're less than as a person or even as a Christian. But I want to encourage you. The Bible doesn't really speak on dating a whole lot, but it does speak on marriage. Specifically, Jesus taught us in the Gospels that there will be no marriage in heaven. Now, I know that that's like the last thing that you want to hear right now, but hear me out. Everyone in the end will be single. So, in thinking on the eternal perspective, yes, marriage is wonderful. You know, you have companionship. You can build a ministry with that person. They complement you. You can even have physical children with that person. But it's not going to last forever. And so you can be encouraged, you know, that the Lord values marriage. He cares about marriage. But it's not the end all be all. The end all be all is when we get to heaven and we get our glorified bodies and we are finally at home with the Lord. But one verse that has helped me, and this is a very, very special verse, and I've quoted it before in other videos that I've made here. It's Romans 8:28. It says, "For God works out everything for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose." And that is the verse that I hung on during my breakup, because it's like God works everything for good. Like, even if we don't see it, it's for good. Furthermore, and this is actually a recent verse that I've been reading through Psalms a lot. I find Psalms to be very, very helpful. It's the writings of King David, and he's a very emotional person, just like I am, by the way, very emotional. Psalm 8:4 says, "What is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings that you care for them." So the Lord cares for you. He cares about your relationship status. He cares about your walk with him all the more. And so he is going to take care of you in this time and even beyond, you know, when you get in your next relationship and you finally find the one, or you discover that he's calling you to singleness. I still don't know, but I know that he cares for me and he cares for you as well. And so I just want you to rest in that peace that he cares for you. He cares for all of mankind. So why wouldn't he care for you? So in summary, 3 things to remember. First, there's a grieving process. Part of that grieving process is also to forgive and to, in a way, forget, because holding on to those memories, even if they're good ones, is not going to be beneficial in the long run. Secondly, grow from the experience, grow in the relationship you have with yourself, in the relationships that you have with others down the line, by looking at the things that you did well and the things that maybe were a challenge. And finally, remember God's perspective through it all, that he cares for you, he deeply loves you, and that he is the love that you've been searching for all along. So what do you think? Have you been in a breakup? Have you been through a breakup? If so, let me know. Let me know what helped you. And yes, that is all I have to say on that topic. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you lovelies in the next video. So long. Bye.